Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 1 of season 2. Or is it episode 2 or is it episode 3? We have not decided yet, so for the first couple episodes of 2021, you will have a medley of whether I say which episode number it is. Regardless of the number of episodes, this is the right place to be because this podcast is for you and me. This podcast is for nerds.
Hell yeah, welcome back everyone. How you doing today, Zach?
Pretty good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. So Zach came up with the genius idea of doing basically a clip show. That was my favorite thing when sitcoms would do clip shows where they would just like recycle old content and make an episode out of it. But we're going to go through like some of our favorite moments from season 1, I guess.
I will say I do enjoy a good clip show.
I do too. I think it's great.
Which series did your favorite clip shows?
I think Community did a really good version of a clip show where they kind of made fun of clip shows and they just showed clips that never actually happened in the show. I really enjoyed that.
That's amazing. I would say I've always enjoyed like the Simpsons compilations pre everyone getting fired and the show actually being good.
Yeah, man, I have not watched that show in a long time.
I was laughing because my kid was talking to me about, he's like, oh, the newest season of Simpsons isn't really that great. And I was like, okay. Well, I haven't watched that show in probably 10 years, and I was thinking that back then. He's like, really? What episode was the last one you watched? And I was like, well, I don't quite remember, but I'm pretty sure it's episode 300. And I know they're
those milestone episodes are always so good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I think that was the one with Tony Hawk when Bart emancipated himself from Homer and Marge because he found out they just took all the money they made when he was a baby actor, which it's funny because that's a very common thing from what I've been told.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's taking the money.
Okay, so let's get into it, I guess. So we've done, let me see. How many episodes do you think we've done, Zach?
I would say we've done 28.
You were close. We've done 31 for season 1. You weren't far off. And we just got our Spotify Wrapped. I don't know if you saw that.
I did, and I've seen like everyone posting about theirs and all of their summaries of their listening experiences over the year.
Yeah, there's some good ones. We had 5 different countries people listened from, so I think that's really cool.
No kidding.
Yeah.
International.
We are, yeah. It's mostly Ireland and Germany, so that's cool. Hello.
That's also very surprising, actually.
Yeah. I don't know how people are finding it, but I guess they are.
Yep. The 2 countries I actually really want to visit. They sound like a lot of fun.
Yeah, Ireland's awesome, and I only was in Germany for Oktoberfest, so I can't really speak about how good Germany is.
Yes, you can. That's a great reason to go.
It was. I want to see like actual stuff though. We'll have to do a trip because Ireland's fun as hell. So thinking over the past 31 episodes, do you have a favorite moment?
I think my favorite moment was probably the episode that'll never be seen, or that's one of my favorite episodes. It's the one that no one will ever see because it doesn't exist. But it's when you and I basically drank really strong beer and just sat at your house and like tried to figure this whole podcast thing out. And that was a lot of fun just because there was a lot of I wouldn't call it questionable content, but there was definitely talk about anime girls and just like things we didn't want to have said on the podcast, omitting our names for the most part. It was just, I don't know, it was just a fun episode. I definitely enjoyed the collaboration between Be Easy and ourselves, and looking forward to do more things like that relatively soon. But yeah, it was a fun ride. I got to watch a lot of different shows and movies that honestly I would have not like looked into had you not, encouraged me to do so through the Media Club.
Yeah, I think Media Club is probably my favorite thing that's like come from this. I mean, obviously I love talking with you. Like that's kind of the whole reason I was so excited about doing this was getting to talk with you about random stuff like we normally do, but like getting to create content out of it. Yeah, Media Club was so much fun. You introduced me to like some incredible anime. Like it Invaded was so great.
Yeah.
And I loved Cake. Like I'm super stoked. I haven't watched season 2 yet, but I'm really excited to give it a shot. So yeah.
I think I've watched maybe 1 or 2 episodes from season 2 of that. I honestly just have not had the time to really get down with Cake. it's an investment in time just to be able to keep up with and go and know what's happening. Some of the micro episodes are so short, you really can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna just turn away for a quick second and do some dishes and come back and know what's going on, because the episode will be over. You'll be on to something completely different.
Yeah, that is the interesting thing about that show, is there's certain shows that you can just kind of have on in the background. You have a general idea of what's going on, but with a show that's like, it's a bunch of like little mini series in each episode, you can't really get away with that. But I really love that show. There's a lot of content we got to watch this year and play, and so I think that was really fun. Do you have like a favorite specific episode other than the Be Easy one that you can think of?
These weren't official episodes, but I really enjoyed playing games with you.
Oh yeah, that was always a good time. Yeah, we haven't touched it in a while. We need to get back to it, but we've been putting up like video game content. I really loved our Halo Let's Plays.
I just forgot how, like, we're so spoiled by games now. Like, even iOS games, or not, even just handheld games now, so spoiled compared to like how we were before, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's crazy thinking. I was talking about this with somebody the other day. How like kids will never know the like pain of losing a Game Boy cartridge or anything like that.
Getting it wet.
Oh yeah, I was like most of the way through Pokemon Silver, and I accidentally put it through the wash. It was so sad.
I've done that too. I understand your pain.
Yeah, yeah. Cloud saves and all that, and cross saving it's a beautiful thing that we take advantage of.
We talked about it briefly during the PS1 episode too, which is another one of my favorite episodes. I liked our retrospective episodes, looking back at like our favorite games from different consoles, because there's just so much I forgot about, and having to look back and go, oh wow, I thought this game aired on this console, but it really didn't, and having to figure out what those memories were and where I was and who I played with and stuff like that. That was kind of cool. And I usually am not a nostalgic person, so it was cool to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed that series. I thought that was a great idea on your part to go back and look at some of the old consoles, and that's one we could revisit too, I think, this season. I think that's like of the series we did, I think that's one that's worthwhile revisiting, because there's still some consoles we haven't hit. So yeah,
absolutely. And I think a big thing too, and another reason why we're looking back, not just at season 1, just for the sake of doing it and making fun of clip shows, is just to figure out how we want to proceed forward. You know, we have a concept we want to do that is more inclusive to just different interests and different people, and wanting to kind of like just expand that area of thought. And in order to move forward, sometimes you gotta look a little ways back, and that's what we're doing today on this podcast, is for us.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's, we've been talking about what we want to do for season 2, some of the things that kind of worked in season 1 and some of the things that didn't. So yeah, I'm trying to think of like episodes that didn't end up working out, I think, the way maybe we envisioned they would. Like, obviously in recent memory for me, like, I enjoyed doing the Choose Your Own Adventure, but I don't know that it worked well as a podcast.
That one, okay, so that one didn't work as well as a podcast, but I also would have to say that also has a lot to do with the fact that site was buggy. We really didn't have a lot of ways to make that one work.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I think what I'm what I'm feeling too is that I like having. I feel like when we had like the Let's Plays or the flashback episodes when we look at older consoles, it was easier for us to focus on a topic instead of just having like a random let's just throw it out and see what happens. So I think for season 2 we should probably just kind of look at like, okay, let's have like more focused things. Let's have more media club days. Let's have more, just more focused, or even just have like rotating cycles when we release a day where we have a series where we're interviewing people, or a series where we're just a different episode that just is focused on that particular thing. I think that's going to make it easier for us instead of like scrambling trying to figure everything out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think having a focus, I think early on it's fun to experiment and kind of throw stuff at the board and see what kind of sticks with people. And yeah, I man, the media club I think is like it's super easy to do because like it's always stuff I want to consume anyways. Like I trust you implicitly on like good content, so that stuff like that is I think fun because it kind of promotes discussion, which I think is kind of like what we've always wanted for this podcast, was like people to engage and like tell us how they feel about stuff. So yeah. What do you think our most popular episode is?
Ooh. Our most popular episode. I'm going to say probably Nickelodeon versus Cartoon Network.
Yeah, you know what? That one was actually pretty close. That one I think is in second or third. Our most popular, weirdly, is our first episode. I don't know if you remember the topic.
Of our first or our real first?
Well, yeah, the one that is known.
I don't remember that one. I don't know because there's a stretch where we just did a bunch of ones at once in the beginning, and I just kind of lost track of what they were.
Yeah, so I think that was like when the plan was, we're each going to come with a topic and we'll spend 30 minutes on it and then get like a full podcast out of it. So our first episode was you came up with best soundtracks in a video game.
Yeah.
And then I brought up that E3 got canceled this year because of COVID. So we were talking about E3 and kind of what it meant to us.
Oh, okay. That's the one that has the bumper is Tony Hawk Pro Skater, right?
Yeah, I think we discussed the new Tony Hawk game that came out this year, and I don't know that we've ever talked about it since. Did you end up playing the remaster?
I didn't. Wait, did I? No, I did not actually. I downloaded it, but I didn't actually get around to playing it. There were some games that came out this year that really kind of took my attention when I had time to play games. Another reason that we had to take a little break for season 2 was that I had a new job and was starting to work about 60 hours a week. So Calvin and I matching sleep schedules was a little tricky. So I blame it on me. It was my fault. But
no, I think a refresh was a good idea. So it worked out.
But yeah, no, I haven't played it. There are some games that I have played that I think we talked about a little bit too. Because I think for a minute we were talking about going through the Xbox store and just kind of looking and seeing what's on there. And I found some interesting games on there in the arcade. I just downloaded actually the new Yakuza game, which I am excited to play because the Yakuza series is one that I've been very interested in for a long time. I just never got around to actually do anything with it, and now there's a new one that's out that looks amazing. And of course, I've been occupied with Borderlands because it's Borderlands, and I'm never going to not be occupied with
it. Yeah, is that Yakuza 0? Is that the new one?
It is Like a Dragon.
Like a Dragon. Yeah, that's on Game Pass, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to have to check that one out because I've been hearing good things about it.
Yeah,
and I've actually never played the series, so.
Me either, but it has some great music that I really enjoy from it, and I was like, dude, I gotta check this thing out.
Yeah, we are very blessed to have just like a subscription service to like try out all these games. It's awesome.
I appreciate it more that I grew up at a time when I didn't have the money or the time or access to any of these things.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, like like I think anyone that listens to this remembers, you didn't have a job or whatever, like you maybe had an opportunity for like maybe 4 or 5 games for a year, and you really have to like make those count. So you do, like, I know I did a bunch of research before I like committed to a game.
Oh yeah, I would say that I primarily probably just stuck to Pokemon. Those are always a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, it really was. And it's almost like comfort food. And they had one come out, like it was almost like an annual affair.
Yeah, and you got, even if you didn't, and then back then, even though games didn't really have crossplay, you had the ability to like for me, I played the Pokemon game as if I was watching it with the TV show. So I kind of like followed it along in that manner, to where like obviously there was no like crossplay, you couldn't play over Wi-Fi with your friends, but I felt like I was playing the game, Ash's character, even except I won games. I actually won games. I don't know why Ash could never, after like 25 years of him existing, never win a tournament. But hey, maybe being 10-year-old forever is just one of those things.
Yeah, it's that's funny because I think recently, within the past like 5 years, he finally won a tournament, and like I remember like because I haven't watched the Pokemon series since probably season 1 finished airing. And I just remember it like being all over my social media was that he had won finally. I'm like, Jesus, it's taken him like 20 years.
Oh man, that's I laugh about that series too, just a lot as an adult. So many more things like don't make sense to me. Like, oh cool, you're 10 years old now. Time for you to go out in the world and fend for yourself. I'm like, wait, hang on. There's so much that doesn't make sense here. But that's just, that was the world of, you gotta catch them all. And if you're here, if you're at home, you can't do that, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going through our least popular episodes. Do you have any idea what that might be?
Ooh, off the top, I don't know. Like, YouTube is a really bad metric to check.
Yeah.
So I don't use YouTube, but I did go through YouTube and like, man, like the views on here are super low. But I was like, I forgot, like this is not our main, like, where we, do most of our magic.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Least popular episode. I can tell you that it wasn't a media club. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, let me see. I'm comparing against our Anchor metrics and then YouTube too, because I just like want to add them all up. No, I don't think it is. I don't think it is a media club. I think it's pre even media club being a thing.
Oh man, it must have been a really random topic then.
Yeah, it was best anime adaptations.
Do people not happy about us shitting on Netflix? I know I shit on Netflix a lot in that one.
Yeah, I think we did. We talked a lot about Death Note. We get into Pokemon because it's best anime adaptations of video games.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so we talk about like Parappa the Rappa, Castlevania. Oh, we even did the Pokemon rap. I forgot about that.
I did too. I think one thing to take away from is that there is the ones that I think have gotten the most appeal, from what I can tell just from talking to people, are those nostalgia factors that kind of hit harder. Like, as opposed to going to specific shows, like Cartoon Network as a whole, that whole discussion, especially Cartoon Network versus Nickelodeon, that's one that like hits people pretty hard. Because
yeah, definitely.
That's like a part of people's like heritage in their childhood. and they're not willing to give up the fact that Nickelodeon was not nearly as good as Cartoon Network.
Man, that episode is so great. I love that so much. That's something I want to like get into more, is like a versus series, and it's been discussed, but for anyone listening, if you're interested, if you haven't listened to that episode, Zach and I talk about, we each bring like 3 shows from Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network and kind of like go head to head on them. And we had everyone vote on social media like which one. So I would go listen to that if it sounds interesting, and if that's like a series you'd like to see, let us know, because I think it's really fun. It'd be cool to like bring in outside people too.
Absolutely, and I think our big thing, like overall with this whole deal, is being able to. I mean, Calvin and I are going to talk to each other regardless. But being able to talk to other people too, and kind of get a feel of like what concepts are out there greater than what we know. We toyed around a little bit with like inviting cosplayers on and having them talk to us about the world of cosplay, and just expanding that further into just like, what are some nerdy interests that are out there? What are some things that people nerd out about that we've never even heard of? Like, there's everything in the world that exists. Like, I think even having Carl come on to talk to us about golf, because that dude loves golf. I know he and Shuff love golf.
Yeah, that'd be really cool to like. It doesn't necessarily have to be like what, like you're saying. Like, it doesn't have to be like what a lot of people would view as nerdy, like cosplay. It could be something like golf, because there's a lot that goes into it, and I love learning about new hobbies and people's passions. So I think that'd be really fun to make that a little series.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think what would you feel like do you agree with that episode being not as popular as it was?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think of like, there are certain ones that I know, like there are episodes that you and I have recorded where like we hit each other up after we record it and we're like, hey, that wasn't the best. Do we want to just like cancel that one?
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, we had done, one was a cosplay one, funnily enough. We had like a whole episode dedicated to cosplay, and I don't think we did enough like prep for it, I think was kind of what it came down to.
Oh yeah, we definitely didn't do enough prep, and we really just like kind of laughed and like tried to give definitions of it the whole time, and neither one of us is really like dedicated to giving like any information or feedback. And it's topics like that too, where I feel like it would be fun to bring in someone who knows what the hell they're talking about and kind of educate us on it.
Yeah, totally. Like, we're not experts on that at all, so it'd be nice to have like a professional and we can just bounce our like random ass questions off at them.
I think it's cool too, because I really don't want to just be like a Wikipedia or regurgitation or a Reddit regurgitation page. Like, we don't have to do that. Those things exist already. Talking to the people, you're who we want to be a part of. Be with the people.
100%.
Fight the power. I do like that. Like, that's one thing I've actually really enjoyed is our work dynamic, especially when it comes to like, hey man, I haven't slept, or hey man, like we, can we work on the time when we do this XYZ? Especially just because like, life happens and work happens, and hey, guess what, everyone? It's been 2020 and COVID happens, which is. I hope everyone, who's listening, also, by the way, on a more slightly serious note for this outtake / retrospective of the year. Hope everyone's doing safe. Hope everyone's family's doing safe. I know it can be hard, sticking around and, having to be locked down or worried about work, worried about money, things like that. I've experienced all these things this year. I've been furloughed. I've found a new job. I left a job. I get it, all right? But
yeah, I
appreciate, people, still sticking by us, talking to us, interacting. That's where we want to have fun here too. So 2020 is wild, but we're all nerds regardless, and there's been a lot of great shows and movies and everything come out. I think a weird thing that I've seen that I expected it, but also was like not sure how I feel about it, is movies and TV shows that come, or not even TV shows, but movies that have come out that like are filmed on a Zoom like manner. I can't tell if it's like good because they're trying to relate, or if they're like taking advantage of the situation because of like no one has a choice. and trying to relate to people that way. And I get mixed feelings on how I feel about that kind of marketing.
Yeah, it's interesting. Have you seen that there was that horror movie on Shudder that was all like a Zoom call?
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I knew it was. I heard about it. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. But
Yeah, I've heard mixed things about it. I don't. Yeah, I mean, like, I can appreciate like trying to take advantage of a situation, like, and I think that's kind of creative. But I think I'm definitely worried about movie theaters going into next year, especially with the news that all the Warner movies are going to be on HBO Max same day as theaters.
yeah, that's an interesting side of it too that I initially hadn't thought about. Like I thought about most general gathering places, small businesses are really my big focus, and they still are. As far as the impact that COVID has on them, especially there's places that I love, like actually Silvio's, who we have featured a couple times in our business shoutouts. They actually moved from Ann Arbor to Canton, or they're moving from Ann Arbor to Canton, and I think a lot, that was a COVID decision as well. I'm happy that they're closer to me, but also, they've been a staple in Ann Arbor for a long time. So, shout out to Silvio's. Hope you guys are still doing well as well, and looking forward to I mean, by now, by the time this airs, I should say, they should be open. And I look forward to continuing my patronage there. But back to what you said about movie theaters. I agree, that was one that I actually did not think about. The long-term effects of what happens to movie theaters and things like that, now that streaming has become such a big thing. I mean, it was before, but now streaming has just kind of really, like, you have different networks doing their own streaming things, different movie theaters, movie companies doing their own particular streaming. It's honestly.
Yeah, it is. It is super crazy. I'm curious how the like. I mean, I know the big chains are hurting. I'm more curious about the local, like the Michigan and State here where we live, as well as other small kind of like mom and pop movie theaters. How they're handling. I think a lot of times those theaters don't. I think they focus on like indie movies or like doing kind of like specialty nights, like playing old school movies and stuff like that. So I'm hoping there's some like community outreach and helping them kind of get through this hard time. But yeah, I don't know, man. I love, like, that's like been the hardest thing for me during all of this is not going to the movie theater. I love going to the movies.
Really?
Yeah,
I actually didn't know that. Like I knew you liked movies. I didn't know you also like were super in with the whole like movie experience too. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was super invested. We did when Movie Pass was a thing, we had seen like, I think for the 1 year that we had it, we had seen something like 150 movies or something like that.
Damn,
Yeah, we're super into the movie going experience. That's kind of what sparked my love of film, was just like going to the movies with whatever parent or whatever, and kind of like, I don't know, there was a point in my life where I was like, I would be content just like running like a movie theater, like having that be my career. Like I would love to do that. And I think that's kind of like my retirement business, maybe, is like opening a little movie theater.
I could see you doing that, and the more you say it, the more I'm like, yep, that's what Calvin does.
Yeah.
And you'd be that guy who like no one would expect you'd be into some really like, they'd be like, oh, Calvin, he's like more art house, and you're like, no, I can get down with some really funky shit too. What are you talking about? Keep these whatever the hell the generational gap is called now, these Zoomers on their feet.
Oh yeah, the Zoomers, man.
What a lame name for a generation. I'm sorry.
It seems fitting with COVID and Zoom being so popular, but I don't know where that name really came from.
I think it's from Gen Z or Generation Z or something.
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah, that is what it is. I just don't know how they got the Zoom from it, but yeah, what have you missed the most, and what are you looking forward to in 2021 as far as like, assuming that this vaccine works and things kind of open back up?
The fucking gym.
Oh, dude, yeah. Oh, for those that don't know, I think most of our listeners would know Zach is very into fitness, and I'm sure it's been tough for you not being able to. At least where we're at, most gyms are not open.
Yeah, and the ones that are open, I will say it's really just. My wife has lupus. I have to be super careful about everything, and not that I am mad about that. It's really just more so like I don't trust gyms to be clean or people who go to gyms to be clean. Like that's a lot of variance and control that I can't control, and it's easier just to eliminate that. And I've been working out from home a lot. And it's really kind of just changed my mindset on the concept of like, oh, I have to be at a gym. It's really less about the gym and more about the equipment. At my former job, I was able to work out with the equipment and not necessarily be around people. So I've just learned that the equipment is what's most important for my goals and less about the actual like gym community, I should say. Because the gym community really is like every other community. It's online. So it's really just having a good spotter when you're going for like a couple 100 pounds of lifting.
Yeah, for sure. Are you starting to invest in like a home gym setup?
No, I'm just working on buying a house still. I need space for what I want to do. I don't want to be the kind of person that like has all the equipment but no real place to put it. And realistically, for what I want to do, I would need a garage.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, hopefully in 2021 a house is in the works and you can get started on that.
Oh yeah, it's something in the works. You're just kind of sitting around and waiting for it. And I think the biggest thing I missed just from that, aside from the gym, we have tickets to Riot Fest still for 2021.
Yeah, so do we. Oh my gosh.
So I'm very curious to see how and what Chicago plans on doing, and what Riot Fest plans on doing, because I know that theoretically it's outdoor, but then that city will also have like a large number of people coming to the city that haven't been there in a while. I think I miss the same things everyone else is missing for the most part. Being able to see friends and family more often, larger groups, and just even how work has been. I think work is something that I don't think should change as far as like cleanliness.
Oh no, for sure.
Like, I was like, man, I didn't realize how like I wouldn't say I worked in a dirty working environment, but just how many things I didn't think about that like should be standard, like wiping down between like usage of something. Like, why weren't we doing that beforehand?
Yeah, exactly.
The flu still exists, so like, why are we not doing this stuff?
Yeah, I was pretty stoked when our work was like, this was before we obviously shut down and everyone went home, but like everyone was tasked with like a certain area of the building, and it's like every 4 hours you need to like wipe it down. And I was like, I'm down with this. This is awesome.
Yeah, and it's really just it's accountability too. Like, you work there, it's not your house. Clean your shit.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. 100%. Especially with like shared equipment.
Oh yeah, I think that's one thing that for a positive, people are going to be hopefully more into doing is cleaning up after themselves and their teams, just as a standard practice.
Yeah.
This wasn't meant to be a a COVID convo, but you know what? 2020 has been it's been mostly COVID. It's been a lot of weird things that happen in a really strange line of events. I mean, Australia was on fire for a few months in the beginning of this year. I don't know if you remember that at all.
Yeah, man, it's crazy to go back and see some of the stuff that happened. Like, I remember, I mean, that was in the zeitgeist for, it felt like weeks, which feels like a long time. Yeah, in the 24-hour news cycle, it seems like we kind of move on pretty quickly. So for that to be a topic of discussion for so long, and honestly, like, I don't know what the status is on that.
From what I can tell, and I only know this based on like, I have some friends in Australia, but also there's a show I've been watching, four wheel drive 24/7. Shout out to EcoMuse and Shano 4-Wheel Drive. And they have been visiting the places because they had the fires and then they were shut down. So for COVID. So it was like one thing after another. And from what I can tell, some of their lockdowns have been receded and the fires are done and dusted, but they're still working on like the damaged areas and areas that were affected from the fires earlier in the year.
Yeah. Huh. Well, yeah, I hope things are better there. And there was that there was the explosion. I forget, it was like in Eastern Europe.
Oh,
I don't know if you,
yeah, I think that was not Lebanon. That was.
No, I can look it up.
That was here too. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There's a lot happened.
Yeah, there's so much.
Do you know one thing that actually like someone told me happened, and I had to stop and think about it for a second? That happened in 2020.
What's that?
Tiger King.
Dude, that's so weird. I will, like, it's so funny to me, like, there's always those things that, like, you'll remember the year from, like, when a console was released when you're a kid or whatever, like, COVID, I will always relate to Tiger King. That show was so weird, and it just came out at the right time. Like, I remember Animal Crossing had just come out, and we would just, like, my wife and I would just take turns playing Animal Crossing while we were watching Tiger King, and I'm like, I cannot believe this is a show.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I ignored for a long time, but then the memes came out, and then we were bored, and I was furloughed, and I was like, well, I have nothing else to do. I might as well watch this show to distract me from literally everything else, because there's nothing for me to do right now. And I just honestly forgot that this was in the same timeline. I felt like I was watching an episode of Dragon Ball Z or something. I just didn't know, like, who I was even fighting anymore.
Yeah, there was... Man, that show was so odd to me, because we eventually found out that, like, that place is, like, not far from where my wife grew up. And she had no idea it existed, which is so funny to me.
That's well, I don't know if that's amazing, but that's wow.
Yeah, it's just weird. That I have a weird relationship with that show. I'm looking through like a retrospective of what has happened this year. Like, we almost went into World War III. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I
just like how casual that is, because it's like, what do you do, right?
Yeah. I forget. Sonic the Hedgehog is, like, I think the highest grossing movie of this year.
And also how the hell did that happen? I remember our controversy regarding Sonic Teeth. So how the hell did they like pull that one off?
I guess the kids didn't care enough to be bothered by it, and also it was like one of the few movies that actually came out in theaters this year.
Okay, so it was just us. It was the older people who like knew about Sonic ahead of time that were just pissed off.
Yeah, I think the target audience was always kids for this. And they don't care. They probably don't even know what Sonic is. They just see a cute little thing running, and they're like, "Oh, I want to see that movie." And the parents begrudgingly take them or whatever. And I've heard it's fine. I have not watched it yet. I don't know if you have suffered through it yet.
I have not.
Does your kid have interest in it?
Nope.
I guess that's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I just didn't see a point in doing so. I wasn't really excited for any kind of live action. There's no reason for me to watch it. I think like there's no reason for like a Sonic. There's no, oh man, I finally get to see this like character come to life. It wasn't like it wasn't anywhere near how people were super stoked that Miles Morales is getting screen time and stuff like that. Like people were really excited about that. I had never even heard of that Spider-Man character. Spider-Man's calorie of rogues and like heroes is so dense. Not even counting his like team ups with other people, it's just super dense. So I just was unaware. But yeah, that's why I was like, oh, cool, Sonic. It's not a new character to me, and I've suffered through a lot of his games, so I'm good.
Yeah, it's funny. Because we've also talked a lot about this past year about like the new video game releases, and now the consoles are out, and neither of us got them.
Well, I mean, you saw that was actually probably a good thing. The first round of QA for those was not good.
Yeah, I've heard there's been issues with like, I don't know like the details on the issues, but I know there's been some issues with both consoles. So yeah, I'm like at this point, I think early on when we were talking about it, I was in a better place financially. COVID's been pretty brutal. So I'm holding off. I don't know when I'm gonna get I'll probably wait until there's like a bundle deal with Miles Morales or something like that, and it's cheap.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna hold off for a while. Just first round of anything is gonna be a little a little questionable, and also just my 360 is not. I mean, wow, not my 360. My my one isn't bogging down to the point where I can justify the cost for that right now. So it's even just from a use case analysis, like I don't have a need for another console just yet. And they're gonna do the thing where there's like, oh, we have this console out and everyone should try it, and they're gonna come out with 2 other versions that are more streamlined and don't have the fans that break and bearings that hold up to excessive gameplay. And then you'll have a decent, solid version with some background behind it, and that'd be the one worth buying. From what you've seen so far, though, I don't know if you've watched any gameplay. Are there either one of those that you lean more towards before? I think before you mentioned you leaned a lot towards the PS5. Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, they're both playing wildly different games. Like, Xbox is clearly looking to just get Game Pass subscriptions, and I'm still going to be an evangelist for Game Pass. I think it's amazing. Yeah, to me, it's like there's new games on the PlayStation right now. So if I was gonna buy one today, if I had to pick one, I would probably pick the PS5. Just because like at this point with Game Pass, I can play like most of those games on my PC, which run better than the Xbox One that I have right now. So that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I would like having like gaming on 4K on a console, but I've come used to just doing like 4K gaming on my PC anyways. What about you?
I would probably lean towards the Xbox still. I don't have a reason to build a gaming PC, realistically, and honestly, PS5 just hasn't had anything for me to really want. I mean, PlayStation overall, the platform hasn't had anything for me to really want since I had a PS2. So,
yeah,
there wasn't really a big drive for me to want to make that hop back over. And plus, like you said, Game Pass is so prevalent, I can name a bunch of games I would miss on Xbox, but I can't name any I'd miss on PS5.
Yeah, it's funny. We have not talked. We've discussed our favorite PlayStation 1 games. We haven't talked about our favorite PlayStation 2 games. That'll have to be an episode.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would say too that one of my favorite PS2 games actually exists as an arcade game.
Oh, on the Xbox arcade?
No, just an arcade, like a stand-up arcade game.
Oh man, I miss arcades. What's the game?
Soul Calibur.
Oh yeah, I think we've discussed some like fighting games, so that makes sense. You're definitely a big fighting game guy. I like that.
I love them so much. What actually, what'd be crazy too? What if arcades? I'm sure arcades are hurting like crazy.
Yeah, I know. So the one near me is open. They limit how many people can be in the arcade, obviously, and they do like temperature checks, and you have to wear a mask the whole time. But yeah, I imagine they're hurting pretty hard financially. I don't know know what their profit margin is, anyways.
Well, especially considering the coin shortage, I think the only way to really fix that issue in general is to have all your machines converted to be able to accept cards.
Yeah, what is that? What is the name of that restaurant that's like also an arcade?
The one in Grand Rapids.
There's one in Novi too, I think, or Canton.
I'm not familiar actually. I know Stella's. I think it's called Stella's Bar and Grill, maybe in Grand Rapids. It's an arcade / really awesome burger joint. And since I'm throwing the name out there, I should probably know the actual name. So I am going to go over to Magic Google real quick and just double verify this while you find the one that you're looking for. Because the one I was thinking of is Dave and Buster's. Oh, I don't know if you've been to one.
I don't think they have good food, but they do have food. They're a restaurant. But like that's an interesting system where like you pay and you get like a little credit card that just works at the machine. Like, yeah, I have to imagine like that's probably going to have to be the way things go from now on.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be, just think about. I mean, coin shortage as well as you got people throwing a bunch of coins into a thing. That's a lot of hand. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of COVID nest bed. They're gonna have to do something. And the restaurant is called Stella's Lounge. It's in Grand Rapids. Award-winning giant stuffed burgers and over 250 whiskeys, and a retro arcade with vegan and vegetarian specialties. That is from their website. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Have you been there?
I have. It is incredible, actually.
Oh man, we might have to make a trip up there one day.
Yes, once things, especially
get
over
normal,
on that side of the world, calm the hell down.
Yeah. Cases are bad up there. Yeah.
Mindsets too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, agreed. Okay. All right. I'm gonna just do like a quick one of all the media clubs that we've done. What has been your favorite thing that I've recommended, and then the favorite thing that you've recommended?
Ooh, the favorite thing that you've recommended. This is a hard one. I always go back to. I honestly always go back to Burning or Parasite.
Oh man, and that was great. That was a great thing that happened this year. That won it won best film and best foreign film.
Yeah.
This year. Yeah, man, that movie was so much fun to watch, and Burning was great too because I hadn't watched that in a little bit. So, yeah, I think those were both really good movies. So I'm gonna have to keep recommending the like foreign dramas, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that one I really enjoyed because I kept seeing like previews and commercials for Parasite, and I was like, man, what is this? And I was actually confused for a second because I think when Parasite came out, it was around the same time Netflix did their adaptation of Parasite the Maxim.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so I thought it was a Parasite movie, and I was like, that's weird. They're not showing any of like the alien stuff. So yeah, that was actually probably my favorite one, or at least the most notable one that you recommended to me was that one.
Okay, favorite one that you've recommended to the show that's maybe sparked the best conversation.
You said it earlier. And it's also because I keep listening to the music from it, but It Invaded was probably one of my favorite ones.
Oh, I remember when I was watching it, I would like text you periodically about like an episode I'm on, and you would like send me the soundtrack, and my wife and I would just like listen to the songs all the time because we got really hooked on it. The soundtrack is so good.
It's Miyavi is amazing. One of my favorite guitarists, and yeah, that whole show has actually made me want to go back and rewatch it. I've actually thought of rewatching it recently. I just decided to wait a little bit longer just to let some more of the things that I know about it kind of slip away, so I can kind of have a fresher mind about it. But yeah, it's just a great show, and one that I didn't anticipate being good because I didn't think it would be good from when I just kept scrolling past it on Hulu. And I was very happily surprised by that.
Yeah, that show was phenomenal. This was a year of anime for me. I feel like I got back. I had a brief like pause with anime, and this year has definitely like re-sparked my love of it. I've been catching up on a lot of the ones I missed. Like my favorite that you recommended for the show was Puella Magi Madoka Magica. That show was so dope, and I didn't expect it at all because I remember when you recommended it, you were like, don't look up anything, just like go in blind, and like looking at the cover, it's so like cutesy. Which I'm not like inherently opposed to. When I watch an anime, I do like the slice of life stuff sometimes, or like magical girl stuff. But like I'm like, this isn't something I feel like Zach would watch. And it gets pretty wild pretty quickly.
Yeah, that was probably your first giveaway, was that it's not something I would just straight up just watch.
Yeah, I keep waiting. I'm like, all right, when's the crazy thing gonna happen? And then it does, and I'm like, holy shit, this show is so cool. So I've been excited to watch that, and I just finished The Promised Neverland. I don't know if you've watched that.
Oh man, how was that?
I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I had been recommended it by a coworker a long time ago. Like I think probably as it was airing, and I watched the first episode and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then I just never got around to finishing it. And then I convinced my wife. She's very picky about anime, and I got her to watch it, and she was like really into it too. So. We've been going through like the 2020 anime season and seeing like what's worth watching. I just downloaded Darwin's Game. I've heard that's really good. I haven't watched it yet though.
Oh, okay. I haven't watched that one either, but I've heard good things about it. I honestly, I didn't sign back up for Crunchyroll. I still have the free account, and there's so much on there that's just kind of popping off that I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm gonna honestly just wait for stuff to come out, and then I'll go back and like catch up on it when I get a chance to.
Yeah, that's been kind of the blessing with COVID. I feel like is anime doesn't seem to have been as heavily impacted, obviously, as like live action, because a lot of the people can work from home and still produce these shows. So that's been kind of a blessing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What was one of the favorite ones that you recommended this season?
That is a good question. I thought we had a really good discussion with The Mandalorian. But I think my favorite to like revisit was Toast of London with you, because I was so excited how much you liked it. Because I think the discussion had come up. We were talking about What We Do in the Shadows at one point, and we were talking about how much we like Matt Berry. And I think I was like, oh, have you watched like his other stuff? And I was like, you should check out Toast of London. And then we ended up doing the episode on it, and like you had ended up watching like the entire show unintentionally, which I was super happy to hear about.
I had to go back and I was like, wait a minute, how am I already on like season 3, episode 6? Like, this is not what we're talking about.
Yeah, I just think
I'm actually super stoked to see. You said they are producing he is working on season 4, correct?
Yeah, supposedly there's a new season in the works, so that's going to be really exciting to see where that goes, just like based on how season 3 ended. And you know, he's so busy with other stuff. He's kind of like popped off with What We Do in the Shadows. Like he's getting a lot of other work. So you know, I'm fine with him taking his time on it. I'm just excited for when it does eventually come out.
We Calvin and I had talked back and forth about what we wanted to talk about today, and one of the things we wanted to talk about, excuse me, but wanted to, you know, kind of give it some proper time too, was season 3 of What We Do in the Shadows. And have you finished it?
Oh yeah, it's definitely, I think it's much better. I mean, I love season 1, but I think it's definitely the better season, especially with like the Matt Berry episode.
Jackie Daytona.
Yeah. Oh, he's so good, from Tucson, Arizona. Take 1 human alcohol beer.
Yes, cool. Not suspicious human alcohol beer.
So good, man. I'm very excited to see what they do with the next season. I think I'm so sad I have to wait. It's one of those that I had kept, like, I had seen the movie and I had kept hearing like, oh, you should watch the show, and I had waited actually to watch the entire thing until recently, semi-recently. So it's fun to like binge, but now I'm itching for more.
Yeah, I think I still am going to maintain that one of my favorite characters is Colin Robinson. Just straight up.
Man, I just love the episode where he like realizes like he can gain power, like more power from draining people in his office. And he just like becomes like he's like, he gets promotions and stuff. I really like the standalone episodes that they've given people, and I hope they like continue that.
Absolutely. Him, and you know, just even the episode, and we're not going to go super crazy into this because that is for another episode of our show. But when he discovers the internet and how to be a troll.
Oh yeah, it's so good. Yeah. And then he meets that troll online, without spoiling, but that scene's great too. Yeah.
I
Okay.
love the lore of that show, honestly.
Yeah, it's great. And I think they do a lot of cool stuff, like bringing in like the werewolves episode was really good. And I love the underground club, the vampire club is great.
We can't go too far into that, but we will in the upcoming season. Season 2 of this podcast is for nerds. So whether you've tuned in to season 2, episode 1, 2, or 3, depending on what episode this is, we want to thank you for joining us. And unlike last season, where I cut off Calvin at the end, this season, I forced Calvin to create his own elaborate outros. Calvin, you have 5 minutes to create an outro. Tell me what you will do.
Oh my gosh! Wow. I'm so good at improv. Um, I don't have a good outro. I'm gonna. I have nothing. I'm gonna say that this first season has been really fun, and I think this experiment has been really cool, and I'm excited to do. I'm gonna be like heartfelt with this. I think this season has been really fun, and I'm excited for what this new season's gonna bring, because I think Zach has brought a lot of cool stuff to the table that is gonna allow for more experimentation. So I'm just really excited for that, and I hope the people that do listen, the few that we have, I hope they continue and enjoy, and I hope this helps during all this COVID stuff. So that's how I'm ending it. I hope you stick around for the next episode of This Podcast is for Nerds.